you started out your business feels fairly easy, you're able to acquire clients or customers, then you have something. But if you go and you're banging your head against the wall and nobody's buying what you have to sell, that's a whole different ballgame.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Behind Their Success podcast. I am Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Scott Zetlin. He is the CEO of VisiOpt, Inc., which is a digital marketing powerhouse with over 2 decades of experience in media buying, conversion rate optimization, and customer journey analytics. Scott started his journey in 2000 with just $200 in his pocket, and then he grew his first online health business into a 7-figure brand within a year. Now, VisiOpt enables companies to test the equivalent of thousands of split tests in a single test without requiring a drop in traffic. Yeah, Scott, so tell us a little bit about your current company and what you're doing.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to. So to clarify in that intro a little bit, VisiOpt is an optimization, testing, and analytics software. So just at the higher level, everybody that's running any type of traffic, a lot or a little, which most people are, if they're on, I'm sure, listening or want to be growing a business, we help them do more with it, right? The result, 80% of the results comes from what's currently taking place on your site, the funnels, the pages. So when you're running cold traffic, we help them increase those conversions, increase the return on ad spend, increase AOV. So in other words, based on what you said, just a little bit of a clarification, and we could, go down this rabbit hole if we want to, but at a higher level, unlike other slow testing methods where they need page A versus page B or headline A versus headline B, they can test thousands of combinations in a single test. They do require traffic. I think there was a little bit of a misspeak, but they do not require a drop more traffic to get all of that data. So that's on the one side. The other side is we're able to track the entire customer journey. So I know that sounds geeky and whatever, but we basically, in short, we help entrepreneurs and businesses make more money with their existing traffic.
Yeah, I've grown my business over the years, and this is stuff I've gotten more into as I've looked into in my tax practice and over the years. I've never done a lot of advertising and marketing, but it's something as we've really looked to expand and more specifically expand into our exact client base, our niche, the exact clients that we're looking for. This is kind of conversations and stuff I have all the time now. It's just about conversion and being able to really put things in place to track a lot of that stuff and test that stuff.
I mean, nothing happens unless a sale was made, right? Ultimately, right? Everybody that you're on the call has one thing to comment. They may have other metrics. Maybe they're trying to build a list, et cetera. Maybe they're doing this through affiliates, but there's one thing we all have in common, right? In order to have a business, we at some point need to be making conversions. And so ultimately, we're in a world now that it's just not as easy, meaning people are becoming more sophisticated. There's more and more people online. There's more and more people in ad networks. So my take on it as entrepreneurs or anybody looking to join and start and build a business online, regardless, or they have a big business in order to compete.
Right. You have to be able to convert that. And it's amazing that, I don't know what all the listeners know really in depth into this area, but it's really interesting when you get into some of that split testing stuff of trying different headlines and ad copy and just changing up things in ad copy and seeing, and when you do it at such a large enough scale, like you said, the testing that can come in and the data that can come in, and you can really tweak and really dial in those marketing pieces.
It's all about your messaging. So I just want to take this back a second. Anybody that's out here that thinks they understand their customer, their prospects, right? But it's about what are their pain points, right? In most markets. But more than that, what do the pain points look like? How do they describe them? What words do they use to describe them? What value propositions are most important to them? And it goes on and on and on. And so even if you were a big company and you're taking, or a company you pay $50, $60, $100,000 for a copywriter, that's a version 1, right? So when any entrepreneur is putting up a website, if they're not getting the reaction they want, it's not necessarily that their business isn't right or their page isn't right, or they have to throw it all away. Many times it's the messaging, but I'll share a story. So when people set up our software, we'll just say, let them do a quick test that won't affect their market. We'll have them make 1-word, 2-word changes so that they can test and just make sure everything's tracked. So recently we had somebody who did that and wrote us about 2 weeks later, said, you know what? Completely forgot that we did that. We left it running on our homepage. We made 2-word change and we ended up with 15% more qualified applications, right? So It isn't about, we could all like second guess, well, what were those words? It has nothing to do with that. The point was going to what you just were saying. Small changes.
We think we know our customers. We think we know what they want to hear, or their language, or where they're hanging out, whatnot. But some of the stuff doesn't even make logical sense. Like you get into some of these things, you make these tweaks, and like it like you said, it increases your conversion by 15%. You're like, I never would have like come up with that. Like we only found that through trial and error, right? And that's what a lot of it is just trial and error until you're like just constantly dialing that in, right?
There's strategy behind it. There's a way to go about it, but ultimately you are right. Like the egos need to go aside. Like a copywriter will come in and I know this market, I've been in this market for years. No, the ego we have to all agree. We do not know. I would never test this, even though we see thousands of tests, ugly AI generated logos. I would never even test the logo because it's just not the biggest impact, but I've seen them make a 20% and better change in conversions. Why? Well, we could all set to guess that kind of stuff, but the point is we don't know. By the way, just for everybody listening, I believe a message, we're talking about like these three message testing, right? And if I had to give one tip regarding that is figure out what your customer language actually is, how they're actually describing it. We just want to keep this simple. Everybody I shouldn't say everybody, most people we see, they think they're talking to their market, but they're not. You have to get in. And the good news is there's plenty of tools out there, meaning free tools, free places in comments, et cetera, like Amazon comments and Reddit and a whole host of other places where your ideal prospect is actually talking, right? And you can use those words. But so if I had to just give one thing, understand how they're talking and the words they're talking, and you alone can do better with your communication.
Somebody described marketing to me recently as you're entering the conversation in the prospect's head is where you're entering. And that's what your messaging needs to match is the conversation they have going on, right? And it's such an interesting thing. It's such a thing that I'm working on so much inside my own business in the messaging and trying different things like that and having some success. It's just a really, really, as a guy that comes from like a very analytical, like numbers background for years, this marketing, this almost like non-tangible, touchable kind of thing. It was always kind of was never my thing, but now I'm so into kind of like branding and the messaging and storytelling and all that comes along with.
And I'll just say, that's what it all is, right? Without a story, without a message, that's what 90% of the game is, right? That's where the focus comes down. We may have the best widget in the world. We could be the best architect in the world. We could be whatever you want to do. If our messaging doesn't resonate, it could be somebody with a lower quality product. Or
it is.
Absolutely the win. In fact, that's typically the case, by the way.
You would much rather have a crappy product and great marketing instead of a great product and crappy. You'd be way better off with their marketing and crappy product.
Sure. Right. Well, put a little bit of that. You have to deliver results, whatever you're doing, or you won't use it long term. I know what you meant exactly, but just for the overall message. But yes, it's exactly right. Right. So this isn't, even when I talk about, it isn't about being done down in data. It really isn't. It's all about the messaging and just putting it in front of people, pull out their pocketbooks or their wallets or their credit cards, and that's how they vote.
Tell us kind of where Scott began and how you kind of got to where you are now.
Sure. Years and years ago, and there I was in business with my father. We had an offline business. It was a wholesale distributorship, real warehouses and all the pains that go along with that. And we did that for many years. And I was always into direct response and always into marketing. And my father that encouraged me to do that. Anyways, years and years ago, I seen the infomercial for the Total Gym. And I picked up the phone because I was into fitness, and I was there and I couldn't believe how expensive it was. Long story short, I found a supplier that was making something very, very similar to the Total Gym. I bought it, and it was much less money. And then I made a deal with the manufacturer, and I started selling them. And I was selling at the time, I was paying $97, and we were selling them on all places, eBay, at over $800. People were thrilled, by the way, with the quality. And so we started, and you could pay back then. It was a different network, and you could pay for ads and pay for placements. And we started some work, and then whatever was before Google, and then Google, we started putting up ads. And again, didn't know what the hell I was doing. Forgive there. The first couple of days, crickets. Then by the third day, all of a sudden orders start coming in. And I'll just tie this in with a funny story. We didn't even know, I didn't even know what a shopping cart was. We had a form, a non-secure form that we were doing. They were coming through and me and my wife were manually entering. And so we were building all that. It was working there. And anyways, so we started developing it, got it, built a proper website, started in, with advertising and first search and then display. And then that led to additional products that we actually manufactured and had trademarked, and led to Nutra, and just led to the journey. Eventually we sold the wholesale distributorship. I was full-time online. We were building that business, which was a lot of fun to build and learned a lot. And along the way, I met believe it or not, it's going to sound fake, but I met a robotics at the time salesperson with an engineering background, and he introduced me to a certain type of testing. And it was okay at the time, but it got me intrigued because we quickly found out that if we tweaked the pricing that we're selling there, we bumped it up and did a simple, very, very basic test and realized how much money we had to leave in on the table, right? And that's sort of like was the journey.
Yeah.
That, my gosh, I was looking backwards. If we had it at this price for the last, whereas how much money would we left on the table? And long story short, it led to a journey where I realized that the number one levers is understanding, messaging and marketing and copywriting, of course, but testing in a different way, which led to a journey where somebody's code that didn't work at all, and an 8-year journey of spending an awful lot of money on developers and building out what we have now. But it started like that. It just was really a passion about testing and building something that wasn't available anyplace else and that will get people results. And that's why I'm just so passionate about the optimization side, because I see companies of all sizes, new companies starting out that can't make cold traffic work, big companies that are sometimes struggling to do or losing money, or people just leaving profit on the table and they don't realize that they are a few tests away. And for those, we didn't invent this, right? There are people like Claude Hopkins, which, direct route fonts masters long before all of our time, that came up with the idea that if you test one headline versus another headline, you would see a big response, and they roll over and they're great now if they show what was actually possible and how quick.
Sounds like a lot of people that, he had on here as guests. It's a guy that just started doing stuff, had no idea what he was doing, and just flailing around and just never stopped, right? And kind of grew it into what you have. And I'm sure you've taken a whole lot of bumps along the way. And like you said, wasted a whole lot of money and stuff that didn't work out. But that is literally required to get to where you're at right now.
That's something I think that is really important, right? Never stop. And I think like there's two points to that. I think number one, never stop. And number two, don't get caught up in the shiny object syndrome. A lot of people around. I think that today, when I speak with and we're talking with and are fortunate to be friends with companies of all sizes, including, 7 and 8 figure, there's one thing that always holds true. With everything that's changing on social media, with everything that's always new out there, the core of their success is front-end creatives, meaning the ads, what you're putting out to the world, and what takes place on your page. And the rest, yes, it's important. Yep, there's a lot going on, but it almost always, the solution to their problems are basic. And what I mean, not easy, it's just the core, like we were talking about, messaging.
Early in entrepreneurship or in business every day that don't understand, or like from the outside, people think it's like, oh, these people have some secret recipe or something they put together to make this magic business that works out. It's like, no, like you ask anybody that's like really successful, and they're going to tell you, we do the basics. We do them really well. We do the basics. We do a lot of them, and we do them better than everybody. It's not some secret business thing they're doing or whatever that the masses don't know about. It's that they're really good at all the basic stuff.
You hit it right on the head. And I think part of the problem is that marketers in the industry use fear of missing out so often.
It's exciting.
New entrepreneurs are like driven towards that, even successful ones. Well, it's why traffic sells, meaning people selling traffic programs. And the truth of the matter is now, I'm not saying there are better media buyers than others, but most of it's programmatic, meaning most of it is ad driven. They've taken away most of the levers. So all of these so-called secrets are not secrets. They're
No.
usually somebody's certain take on something that worked for them. And so, yeah, I agree. If you have anybody giving any advice, walk all that out and messaging. When you run an ad, what are they clicking on? What are they resonating with and why? Are you pre-qualifying? Are you just doing blind clicks? If they're clicking, and assuming you're not just doing a switch and bait or, type of thing or a blind type of curiosity, if you're really pre-qualifying and they land on your page and they're not taking the action you want, why? Is it that you're offering something that they just don't want? Well, if you have competitors in the marketplace, then chance of the answer to that is no. You may have just a lead strength. But the point is, it's really I want to say simple, not easy, right? Because one other thing I just give here is that I always talk about different is better than better. And what I mean by that is part of the problem, and I understand following success, but part of the problem is that everybody is trying to copy everybody else, but you don't know what's below sort of iceberg below the ocean type of a thing. And so you want to have a unique reason why somebody should purchase from you versus somebody else. I mean, there's a lot that we could dive down in there, but ultimately what we're saying is, and it's not overly as complex.
100%. Like, it's simple. You can get like 80% of the way in any area of your life by doing a couple simple things. But, say getting into shape, right? It's like, eat a little better, move a little bit more. That's going to get you 80% of the way there, just like that.
I love your analogy, because in that market that you just talked about, there are thousands of different people telling you a ton of different ways to get in shape and what you have to do in the research. And you're exactly right. If you didn't do what you just said, if you don't eat a little bit better and exercise a little bit more, lift a little bit harder, you're not going to see results. Most of us, do not need that extra 20%. There's no secret edge. But as people, as human beings, that's what we're looking for. And I think it holds true even more in the entrepreneurial community, because you're always seeking and searching and you want, to find that easy way. And it's tough.
Like you said, with exercise, you can get 80% of the way with, a little bit of exercising, getting in shape. With a little bit of exercising, you clean up your diet just a little bit. That last 20%, that last 20% to get from being in decent shape to competitive bodybuilder, that's a whole lot of work. That last 20% is all these tiny little things that we're talking about constantly dialing in. But the thing is, that first 80% saying getting in good shape, it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but there's also not that many rewards in it, meaning you'll be kind of like everybody else. It's in that last 20% that takes all the hard work, all the tweaks. It takes forever to get in any around an area, but that's where all the rewards are at. That's where, for example, the guy that finished second in the 100-meter race versus the guy that finished first and won the gold, their rewards are vastly different. Even their differences are a point, a tenth of a second, right?
Yep.
So it's while it gets harder and harder to continue to eat and gain ground in that 20%, the rewards are even bigger and bigger inside that 20% than they are anywhere else. Becoming an expert in one area and gaining as much ground as you can in the last 20%, that's where, these huge businesses, especially in services and stuff, that can be grown.
Yeah, and the key is understanding the proper levers that are going to get you there, which I think is also what we're talking about. What is it that you focus on and where do you focus? And there are certain things in that last 20%, but for even the 80% and even that extra 20 in the business world, it's usually more of the same. It is messaging in more places. It is more testing, tweaking, and understanding the market there. And even some of them that are there do not fully understand. It's I like the principle of continual improvement, 100%. And so just to bring this full circle, what we're talking about when we talk about testing and optimization and understanding your numbers through customer journey, those are both the basics to get there. They are the way that you go from here to here. So we have both. Some of the 7, 8 figure and tweaked, but we have one above them in a story. That's because they are obsessively tested. But they don't also understand that when they were down here, when they were trying to grow, the way they found their message wasn't because they were magic. It wasn't because they had some kind of secret sauce. Just like I'll give you one other idea that's available to anybody out there. Just taught a class that was completely on like, funny, we had an AI image, getting inside the head of your customer. You had mentioned the famous quote that was like, get inside their minds. I think the exact, with their customers, there. Well, the nice part about that is that's available to everybody. That is not a secret, right? I will throw, if you want, I mentioned this before, and there are ways that we go about using this, but in any market, if just quickly, if this is value to people, Amazon, right? Look at the comments, look at the negative comments, your competitors, your lateral competitors, books, go to YouTube, look at videos that have a lot of comments. And there's ways, by the way, of extracting them. There's ways of amplifying, but let's just go old school, just there. You can find out, you want the stories that your customers are actually telling you and the messages. Well, guess what? There's Reddit also out there. And so as you go through these things, when we talk about things like what value propositions, how are they talking about these things? How are they dimensionalizing it in the messages? The problem is the basics, that digging, right? The foundational stuff. Most businesses that we speak to of all sizes aren't spending as much time doing that, right? That's sort of sharpening your axe, right? Whatever that saying is. And that's the whole idea. So for everybody listening, that's available to you. That's more important than worrying about the next traffic thing. Because I can tell you, if you understand that messaging, be a copywriter, although it helps to understand, you can talk to people in the way that they should be talked to, and you don't have to be an expert at any of these things. You can improve and you're going to get results. But I just want to throw that out there that not all of this has to be called. There are definitely ways and shortcuts and stuff that we do there, but the information is all out there.
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. I'm Peyton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of WR Tax Planners. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax saving strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head on over to the contact page at PeytonSquires.com. There you can fill out a contact form and get a call booked to see what it would look like to have WR Tax Planners on your team.
Sounds like you've done a lot of things, kind of throughout your journey and whatnot. What would you say is one of the best decisions you've made that's kind of led to you getting to where you are right now?
This is going to sound boring. It's focus. We did not go in 5 different directions at once. We didn't try to, and it was hard when other people were doing. We probably missed opportunities that were there. Like there's a lot of, over the years, you'll see there's a lot of quick sort of opportunities where we could have made money doing X, Y, or Z. I think the best thing that we did was focus. And so when we were in the fitness business, we were all in and we were focused. And when we made that transition, intelligibly because we were utilizing this for itself in the other business. I'll give you one other just because I hope it will lead value. When we started VisiOpt, when we had it before I released it to the market, one of the best things that we did, and again, this is a step that a lot of people don't, is we talked with hundreds of companies, and in our case, hundreds of conversion optimization firms and people there, and then did it for them. And then we became an accidental agency. Won't talk about that right now. Point the middle here is the best decision was finding out more about our market and about our product by actually doing it. And so those years, we spent about 2 years doing that, where it would have been much easier to just start putting it out to the marketplace and making money. But what we found out, right, working one-on-one with customers, clients, is things that we would have never been able to figure out. So again, sounds boring, but I guess if we had to categorize that, we did the work. And I can tell you a million ways that we would have failed, absolutely would have failed, had we just gone out. So focus and really putting yourself out there to truly understand your market, your customer. And so depending on where you're at, get rid of your ego and go back and talk with your customers, help your customers. It's the best thing that you absolutely can do.
So let's say you were working on the gym thing, and then maybe you picked up a different product in a totally different area and you would have not focused, right? And then it's arrogant of us as entrepreneurs to think, oh, I can compete in multiple markets here when my competitors are all focused in their, in their single niche. So like, how are you going to compete against these guys that are solely focused in the, say the gym product? If you've got 4 different products that are unrelated, if you're speaking to 4 different markets, how do you think you're going to compete when you got this one guy that's all in on this market, right? So that's kind of the thing to where it's like, us as entrepreneurs, we get that shiny object syndrome, but you're called the woman in the red dress, like everything, the grass is always green, right? You see all these opportunities, but we also don't understand the problems that come along with those opportunities. We don't see like the positive till we actually get into it. We're like, crap, this requires work too.
This if we want to take this a step further beyond markets or beyond products, it's techniques, right? If you start somewhere and master it, right? Let's take traffic. If your product is geared towards, and you can, let's say, search, then figure it out and focus on that. Yes, you don't want just one, but don't go jump into this, into native and email and try to master all of those at once, especially if you're, depending on the size, because every one of those traffic sources, every one of those usually takes a lot of time. I have a buddy in there, and years and years ago, I had helped him get on Google Play Network. Now he took it to a whole new level. But if you were to see inside, and they do it extremely well, the focus that he has, and therefore the people around him, and the time, and the desire to never ever give up. I'm going to crack this. Everybody will see, well, look how much traffic he's getting. Look at what he's doing. I will tell you, there virtually isn't any traffic source or product that he's cracked that came easy. That it just doesn't work that way, and nothing worked out of the gate. Almost nothing worked out of the gate. But they're willing to take those hits and understand. I can give you one last story. I love the story by Judy Crawford, right? And don't forgive me of these numbers, but like $6 billion, they became the leading infomercial in the beauty space. But they took a year of losing money. We could look at this and say they are the best copywriters in the world. They understand the infomercial market. They understand what they're doing, but they didn't come out and hit it. Now, I'm not saying anybody on the spot has to lose money for a year. I use that as an example because why, if you have the best of the best and the resources that are enough, and we can see and say, look at how well they did, and they became the number one and billions of dollars. But we're not seeing what it takes to get there.
I kind of ask you one of the best decisions you made, Scott. Kind of on the flip side of that, tell us one of the bigger mistakes you kind of made.
Wow. So with the fitness company, and then we had to, start making a decision to develop, meaning to the focus, right? We saw much more opportunity here on the testing and optimization side. And so number one was holding on too long. And so should have released the fitness company. Sometimes that's hard when you build a baby from scratch. I'll give you one quick that is surprisingly the same type of story. When we were in the offline world, and we had this wholesale distributorship, and it was fairly large. We had looked for a buyer, had a buyer on a table, and at the same time, I won't go down the story, but it won't be a lesson, and we had potential investors, and we killed a deal that was really, really good, that would have made our life easy to walk away from in lieu of something that may come. And so both of these lessons, I think, for my personal, held on too long. And the second I would give anybody, I know we're talking about growing, but never hold on to your own business. Always look at every business, whether you mention it as something that you eventually want to exit. Look at the end, because, and don't worry about we're talking fear of missing out a lot. Don't worry about that, what may have come. If you've met your numbers. So both times in life, I could have made a lot more money, made my life a lot easier.
That's always the balance here, right? Of like, it's not easy to decide where you're at, right? In that journey, is it a thing I need to walk away from? Or is it a thing that, no, I'm just avoiding the work and I just need to press in it harder, right? And sometimes that's hard to know which one is right.
You're exactly right. Right. That gets is complicated discussion, but it's exactly right. And it's just a reality of business. So you need to focus, but you also need to. So another side to that is, we're talking about successful businesses knowing when's the right time to exit or plan for that exit. So I think the easiest way for that is to plan for it, and be aware of where the market's going. So from that standpoint, you're looking sort of for that hockey stick. When you are rising to the top, that's just usually a good indicator that it may be a good time to be, because there isn't a business in the world, especially today where things change, where that doesn't eventually flat. Though unless you're looking for a lifestyle business that's going to hold on and you just want to keep doing that, that's usually the time. But the other side that I think you were indicating and talking about a little bit is, if you're building something and it's not happening, you need to understand why. That's a different conversation. If it's working, but not working well enough, that you may need sometimes outside perspective, right? Too close to it. That we're talking about is the market. Is it your offer? Or do I have a Me Too offer? Is the market changing? Am I not different enough? Am I not able to offer whatever I have to stand out in the marketplace? And there's a lot of whole other things. Sometimes that into things, you need qualified outside perspective that you trust. I think that the indication is, I usually say, and this is just a very simplistic, if there's smoke, there's fire. So if you've started out your business and you are able, it feels fairly easy, you're able to acquire client or customers, then you have something. But if you go and you're banging your head against the wall and nobody's buying what you have to sell, that's a whole different ballgame. And I know that's a simplistic approach, but just to sort of tie it in a bow for people, that may be a good indication. Like, I don't want to see anybody that's building and spending. And the one other thing is that in the internet age,
without a lot of resources,
fairly easy to test and to prove on the market. Sometimes, by the way, that may be, depending on your business, just knocking on doors or knocking on virtual doors before you actually create. If you have a service related, or even in our case, it was software related, but we actually did the service side of things. There's a lot of ways if you get creative, but you made a comment, and one of my, if you build it, sort of will they come? The Field of Dreams is what, maybe it sounds very one of my favorite movies, and that's so there. The truth of the matter is, it's not going to happen that way. And so you don't want to spend a lot of time building your business card, so to speak. I see too many people focusing on, you don't have a brand unless you have customers. So I think that it's very basic, right? It's important to tell. But I think if we're talking about what we talk about today, there's definitely focus. There's definitely the basics. Going into anything with, as it starts moving in the right direction, where will potentially be our exit point, and build it with that and not look back. And the other side, like we're talking about, just to tie it in a bow, is that, also know what kind of key metrics you have to hit and when before you decide it's not. And if you can orchestrate a way to figure out, does this have legs or not, then do so. And most of the time, people will be honest. So the best way to do that, almost any business, is to do things for free. Do things for, if it's in a service-related business, give things away if you can afford to. Give things away at cost. Get honest feedback. That's that tough stuff that we talked about at the beginning, because we both see a lot of people that get this idea, now I paid a website designer, or I did something myself, or I paid a copywriter, I have all this put together, and now I have something that I have to make work, instead of putting in the harder work to say, is there something there? It's all fun. It can be very rewarding, to your point, but it's absolutely can feel like a dredge. Point is, when you're talking, if people are interested, then they not only will do that, but they'll turn to you many times and ask you to do it. And then you can learn what they like, do what they don't like, and what work. At any rate, it's a little bit of a drudgery, though, to think that you're going to do that, because most people think they're going to put out have a lot of traffic to it. You have a lot of traffic experience. If you know how to hone in your ideal market, if you've created offers for cold traffic before, absolutely.
What's the best way people can connect with you or learn more about your company? Anything in your work?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll just give out the website address. It's VisiOpt, VisiOpt.com. And I'll say that there is a little live chat button there. If anybody wants, if they're running any kind of traffic, and this isn't just sales, wants us just to take a look and give you a free evaluation, meaning conversion evaluation, more than happy to. We like completely giving, right? What we're taking in the same way. So we're more than happy to do that. If anybody's interested in, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.